The following is a Spirit Street production.
Man, football is in the air. You can feel that the season is right around the corner. And technically, it's starting on Saturday with the game over in Dublin. And there's a couple of, week 0 games this week. So football is officially back. The Big 12 starts next week. We'll get into today what we believe some of the records or all the records of each Big 12 team is going to be. We're going to break those down for you today. This is the Big 12 Insiders.
Welcome to the Big 12 Insiders, your Big 12 sports show, presented by Synergy Financial Partners. Now let's go to booming North Texas, home of Studio 73. Here's your host, Brien Hanley.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the Big 12 Insiders. It's your man, Big B, Brien Hanley, along with Tim Fitzgerald. Fitz, it seems like we haven't done a show together in months. Although I think it's only been about maybe a week or a week and a half, about 10 days, but seems like forever ago.
The camp reports were a fun exercise, but we just divided the conference in half and went off and did our own thing. Hardly even spoke, but they turned out pretty cool. And if you're a viewer and you haven't seen your camp report, go back on our YouTube channel and find it. We can always tell what publishers shared them with their peeps and which didn't. I'm just saying, but they're all there and they're all really good.
Yes, they are. Had a lot of fun doing it. Again, met a lot of the guys. I've already talked to them, but met them at media days. It was good to go over what was going on. Football is back though, Fitz. It is back. It's just here. It was a long summer, a lot of wishing and hoping and praying that certain things would turn out. But football, all that other stuff, the nonsense that we had to deal with during the offseason, all that stops now because they're about to kick the football off.
And I am fired up that the Dublin game is taking place this weekend. Of course, it'll be a Big 12 game next year with Iowa State and Kansas State. So I'm going to celebrate by getting a 6-pack of Guinness and eating a potato like an apple, just gnaw on it to get back to my Irish roots, to get prepared for this.
I totally understand, man. I understand exactly. So let's get into this. Today, we're going to talk about breaking down the records of each Big 12 teams, what we think the records are going to be. Didn't do conference records because sometimes that gets into the weeds a little bit, but let's just break down what we think the overall records are going to be. We're not doing them I guess we are doing them in some sort of order. It's alphabetical order. So not doing it based on where we think everybody's going to finish, just doing them in alphabetical order. First off, let's just go right down the list here, Fitz. First, we got Arizona, and I've got Arizona at 8-4. I think Arizona is going to be a good football team this year. They're going to run up against, I know they play Utah, they play Kansas State. Going to be some tough matchups for them in the conference, maybe some things that they haven't seen coming from the Pac-12, maybe a little bit of a physicality, but either way, they lost a lot of guys, but they return a top flight quarterback, a top flight wide receiver. I just think Arizona is going to do very well in the conference. 8-4 is a good record for them.
As an interesting wrinkle to this exercise that we are beginning, the 24/7 Sports Network literally put out similar predictions 45 minutes before we started taping. So my friend, our colleague, Cody Nagle, who used to cover Oklahoma State, does a lot of great Big 12 stuff, has done all of these same things. So I'm going to compare Big B to what Cody says. Cody's got Arizona at 7-5. I tend to side with you a little bit more on that. I'm buying at 8-4.
Yeah, I like Arizona at 8-4 this year. Next up, we got Arizona State. We've done a couple of shows already talking about teams and games and that sort of stuff. I just think Arizona State's going to struggle a little bit. I got them at 3-9. And again, all of these teams that we're talking about, I want everybody to win every game. Obviously, that's not going to happen. And this is just what my prediction is going to be. I think Arizona State is going to be better next season. But this season, I think it's going to be a little bit of a struggle.
Yeah, you don't go from where they were to where they want to get to and do it in a sustainable way.
Right.
Plus, their non-conference schedule doesn't do them any favors.
No.
I mean, you look at this thing. When I was doing my report with Chris Karpman, the publisher at Arizona State, I didn't realize they've got Wyoming, Mississippi State, and Texas State. And Texas State might be the best non-Power 5, Power 4 school this season.
Yeah.
That is their non-conference schedule. Then, you get to go play Big 12. Cody's got them at 3-9 also. I'll be blunt. I'm selling. I don't think they're going to get to the 3 wins. Who they're going to beat in the conference, Cincinnati, BYU, I'm not sure. And I don't think they're going to win 2 out of 3 in that non-conference.
Yeah, it's going to be tough. I think at 2 out of 3, I think they can get in the non-con, and then I think they're probably going to upset somebody in the conference. They'll win one of those games, I think.
And they need one of those. If they pull off one of those, I know it seems nominal to have an upset in a 3 or 4 win season or whatever it is, but boy, that can fuel you and build your confidence into the next season. When I do agree with you, I think they're going to be a lot better in 25.
Yeah. And 25, I think Arizona State will be a lot better. Take a big leap here. Next up, we got Baylor. Look, I've been on record. Dave Aranda, he's fighting for his job. And I'll be honest, I'm not sure it gets done at 4-8. If they go 4-8, he's not going to have a job. And unfortunately, I feel like that's where Baylor is going to be. The schedule doesn't do them any favors. I know they've gotten better. Dave Aranda's taken a hands-on approach. Talked to Foster Nicholas, and he said Dave Aranda, which we do know that he is a defensive wizard. That's how he got the job. He knows his defense. He's taking a more hands-on approach, but I'm just not sure it's going to be enough. I'm not sure that they have the horses to be able to do any better than 4-8 this year.
Cody's got him at 5-7. I'm with you. I think 4-8's a little bit more believable. They do have a couple, potential easy wins in the non-con that'll help them, but trying to get then 3 wins in the conference play, I'm buying with you at 4-8.
Yeah. But Baylor, it's going to be tough for them to get there. Again, just predictions, people. Don't go off the deep end or go off the deep end.
Yeah.
Either one, doesn't matter. Bottom line is this is just where we think they're going to end up. Next, we got BYU. Look, I've kind of gotten into a love, not even a love-hate, just a love relationship with BYU fans since we started doing this. There's a lot of them out there that agree with what I'm saying. I think 4-8. There's a lot of BYU fans that are like, yeah, you're probably right, Big B. 4-8 sounds about right. Some of them are saying that fits because they want to get a new head coach. Now, I don't know that that's necessarily the idea. I don't even know that that's what would be best. But I got a lot of not even pushback, just, yeah, that sounds about right. They're not going to be very good. I'm like, man, usually that's different with fan bases. But I've said this once, and I will say it forever. BYU fans are very smart, very football educated. They understand what's going on when it comes to football, not just football, everything in general, but they really know their stuff about football, and they kind of get it. 4-8 is kind of what they think.
I agree. I mean, I love BYU fans. I can't wait to go out there. Cody's got him at 3-9. I'm with you. I'm buying 4 or more wins. I'm having problems seeing BYU have this kind of collapse type season. I know they're adjusting the Big 12, but there's talent there. And but I'll take the 4-8 over the 3-9 Cody's projecting. I think he's got a conference loss that I don't see.
Right. Next up here, Fitz, we got UCF. And I picked before the summer, we did a prediction. I put UCF at 11th in the conference, and UCF fans jumped all down my throat. So I did another deep dive, and I'm like, you know what? You're probably right. And I moved them up to 8th. That wasn't good enough. Well, okay, whatever. I'm not budging off of that. I do think they're going to have a good season because I do believe 8-4 is going to be a good year. The big key game for them, I think they beat Florida. I just think they beat Florida. I don't think Florida, first of all, it's not going to be an upset because Florida's not very good, but it'll be perceived as an upset. I think UCF is much better than that. Them being in the conference, I think they're going to do some stuff in the conference this year. I like 8-4 for UCF.
I'm with you. That win, if they accomplish it, would be huge for UCF football, enormous in recruiting, but great for the conference. Quit telling us that we're a bunch of group of 6 teams all in one conference parading around as a Power 5 when you can't defend your home field. The Big 12 needs some of that this year. Cody's got him at 8-4. I'm with you, boys. I think that's a good, comfortable number, but I won't be surprised if this is a breakout season in the Big 12 for UCF.
Absolutely not. Will not be surprised. Moving on, Cincinnati, 3-9. Look, I'm not a believer. Me and you have talked. You're not a believer. Scott Satterfield, look, we're not bashing anybody. We're just calling it like it is. I just don't think Scott Satterfield is the guy for that particular job. I know UC fans are, and again, they're educated when it comes to football. They recognize what good football is. They had it with Luke Fickell. They took a step back last year, and I don't think they had to, Fitz. That's my whole thing. I don't think they had to take a step back. I know they lost some guys to transfer. They lost some guys to the NFL. But shouldn't they have been able to replenish and replace those guys? I think so. They play outstanding high school football in Cincinnati alone, much less Ohio. And I'm just not sure this is the right fit for the job. 3-9. It could be worse.
Well, Cody's got him at 5-7. I disagree with both of you. I think they'll be right in between. I see him at 4 wins. But Satterfield's got to get this thing going, and he's got a challenging schedule ahead, but he does have a welcoming non-con schedule, which is also important in the rebuilding process. It's called the Bill Snyder method. Towson, Miami, Ohio, which is a rival, and Pittsburgh, also kind of a rival. Cody's got him winning all 3 of those, and I think that's very interesting. If they do, wow, that's going to be a huge step forward for that program, but they are all winnable.
They are winnable. And again, if they win all those games, one of those, I think they slip up, maybe the Pittsburgh game. Either way, I don't see them winning very many games in conference. That's my thing. I don't see that, but we'll see. We will see. Next up on the list, Colorado. I have Colorado at 6-6. Now, there's going to be some people. I mean, Colorado is the most polarizing 4-8 team in the history of mankind. Is that you either hate them or you love them, and it depends on what you say about them on whether you hate them or love them. If you say, "Well, Deion's okay," well, then you have no idea what you're talking about. You don't know ball. But if you say that Deion's terrible, you're just a hater. It's like, okay, well, 6-6. How about you like that? First of all, from where Colorado was, Fitz, and where they are now, if they go 6-6, you can't tell me that that's not moving in the right direction. They were literally the worst at the time, Power 5. Now that we know it's Power 4 now, they were the worst in the country. And I'm not sure it was close. They were horrible. So to get to 6-6, the way that he's doing it, I think is an improvement. Is it everything that he said that they're supposed to be? No, but it is step forward. And if people can't see that or won't see that, I think that's a mistake.
Colorado, they're hard to figure out, but contrary to what a certain national media member believes that went to that institution, who said it's an easy schedule, they play UCF, Kansas State, Arizona, Utah, Kansas, Oklahoma State in conference play. Tech, which they'll probably be favored to lose. Is that how it works? Tech will be favored to win. They also have Baylor and Cincinnati, a non-conference that is full of traps: North Dakota State, Colorado State, and of course Nebraska. Dude, he's got him at 4-8. I'm buying with Cody. I think 4-8 is about where they'll end up.
The thing about it is, if they're better, it's because all the things that they did, bringing in all the transfers, rebuilding all the offensive line, it means it worked.
Yeah.
But if they're not, it means it didn't work. And there's no in between with this, Fitz. It's either it worked and you got better, or it didn't work and we got to do something. You got to try something else because your method isn't working. So,
and I like to say that BYU fans, or excuse me, Colorado fans, just temper these expectations. I'm seeing some 8-9 win things, playing the Big 12 championship. You got to understand the schedule. And you used to be in the Big 12, so I would think you would, but you've got a steep hill this season. This is going to be tough. And if you do get to 6 wins with this schedule, I'm buying in, because I can't even tell you the context of that is it last year would have translated to 8-4. I truly believe that. This schedule is daunting in conference play. They've set themselves up for some defeats in the non-conference play, a couple possible like painful defeats. But you're right. I don't think wins and losses is going to fully measure the progress. So if they're just more competitive, that's a good sign. But boy, getting to 6 wins on this schedule, I'm selling that. No,
it's going to be tough. It's going to be tough. I like it, but it's going to be tough. Last one before the break, we've got Houston. I'm a believer in Willie Fritz. I've said it for forever since he got the job. I am a believer. It's going to take a little while for them to get going, to get everybody in that buys into what he's selling. And what he sells, people, is good stuff. You know, he's not a snake oil salesman. He's not that guy. He's selling good stuff. I got Houston at 4-8 because I believe that they're going to be able to upset a team or two within the Big 12 this season. I just think that. I think they're going to play tough. They're going to play disciplined because that's what he demands. And when you play tough and you play disciplined, you're going to knock off a couple of teams that maybe you're not supposed to.
Right. And Cody's got him at 2-10. He's got him offering in the conference. Now, I'm biased with Willie Fritz. You are too. And we should just admit that. We really believe in the man.
Yep.
He's got background with, secondarily with Kansas State, but more importantly with the state of Kansas. And we know about him. We've known about him for a very long time. In fact, I thought he'd be a great hire for Kansas at some point, and they passed on him. I don't see him going 2-10. I think they'll get 4 or 5 wins. So I'm buying it with you on this one, Big B.
Yeah, I just like what they're doing. I've talked to a couple of people that are connected to the program a little bit. It's totally different than what the previous coaching staff. Everything that they are doing is literally different, from practicing, from weightlifting, from going to class. Not that guys didn't go to class, but what's expected of them when they go to class, how they carry themselves. Everything is totally different. I just believe that that's going to manifest itself in a good way on the football field. So I like Houston at 4-8. Going to take a break here, and we will be back right after this. We're counting down, or not necessarily counting down, but we're giving the records of all the Big 12 teams this season. We will be right back after this short break.
Welcome back to the show. Let's head back to the studio.
All right. Welcome back to the Big 12 Insiders. Again, this is your man, Big B, Brien Hanley, along with Tim Fitzgerald. So we're counting down, or we're breaking down the records of all Big 12 teams. We've done the first 8. Now let's move on to the last 8 here. Next up on the list, Iowa State. Iowa State brings back a lot, Fitz. I think Iowa State, along with Oklahoma State, and we'll go over them in a minute, I think those two are two of the most underrated teams in the country based on how they finished, what they bring back. I've got Iowa State 8-4. That might be low, Fitz. It just might be low.
I'm with you. Cody has them at 8-4, by the way. I'm going to sell on both of you. I think they're going to be at 9 wins because I think they'll beat Iowa. And I think that's a game most people have them losing. I just see this is going to be kind of a season where Matt Campbell starts to take the next step, to show that he had a flurry of incredible players that, honestly, if you look at all the guys in the NFL, they underachieved. They just
Absolutely.
did. But now I think you can look at him and say, if he starts winning 8-9 games with these kind of players, which I'm not saying are worse, they just are less proven than those guys. Maybe they will be. He's turning the corner. And I thought end of last year, they were a really good football team.
Yeah, they were. And they turned the corner. The season started off with a lot of turmoil. Then going to Ohio and getting beat the way they did just didn't look good. It looked like the season was about over. They turned it around, in strong, bring back a lot. Like I said, one of the most underrated teams in the country. In 8-4, I like 8-4. You mentioned it. I have that game losing to Iowa, but as a Big 12 fan, I couldn't be rooting harder for Iowa State to go on the road and winning that football game. I mean, Iowa is what it is. I think they're one of the most overrated teams every single season. I'd love to see Iowa State beat them. And if they do, yeah, I think they get to 9 wins, but I got them at 8-4.
Okay.
Next up on the list, Kansas. Expectations high in Lawrence, Kansas. 9-3 is where I have them. You look at Kansas's schedule, though, Fitz. If their quarterback can stay healthy, I'll be honest, 9 wins not enough. It's not. I mean, you think, well, what are you talking about, Big B? I mean, it's 9 wins. It's Kansas. I'm like, well, first of all, Kansas is really good. That's number one. They have outstanding coaching staff. And if you just take a look at their schedule, if their quarterback stays healthy, 9 wins might be low. So
I'm with you. Cody's got him at 9-3 also. It's a really manageable non-conference schedule. Lindenwood, Illinois, UNLV, 3 winnable games, 2 opponents. Honestly, you could lose to, but I don't think they will. Particularly Jalen Daniels is up and healthy. He's got him at 6-3 overall in the conference, and I'll accept it. I'm going to buy it 9-3. But I'm with you, man. If he stays healthy, and not just healthy, able to play, but healthy, able to be himself, they're going to be trouble.
Trouble.
And because no matter what you think of the defense, they've proven with Jalen Daniels, they can outscore your offense.
Right.
Yeah, I would be, if he stays healthy, I'll be selling. I think they're going to be right there in the mix to go to Arlington. But if he gets gimped up is less than what he normally would be, the back flares up, which I really want him to stay healthy, but I just don't see how back injuries just don't heal very well.
No.
So I'm rooting for him, but I think even without him, this is a good enough Kansas team to get to that 8-9 win plateau. That's how good I think they are.
Yeah, they're really good. Coaching staff, really good. I think the defense will be a little bit better than what people believe, too. They got 2 really good cornerbacks. So the secondary could be a strength, or should be a strength. But we'll see. Like I said, it all depends on quarterback. If Jalen Daniels can stay healthy, I think 9 wins is low. But I'll put it there just because of what we've seen, the history of what we've seen the last 2 years, just because of that history. But if that history does not hold true and he stays healthy, I'll say it again, Fitz, 9 is low. 9 is low. So next team, Kansas State. It's odd that so many people have a team that, number one, they had nobody picked on the first team, all Big 12 team. Nobody picked. They have a new quarterback. They're breaking in basically a new line. And yet everybody has them, or I shouldn't say everybody, but a lot of people have them in the Big 12 title game, myself included. I think they're going to be that good, though. I think Kansas State 10-2. I don't think that's out of the question. But it's a schedule that 10-2 kind of looks like the ceiling, but it could also be 7-5 could be the floor based on some of the pitfalls that they have to try to navigate through. So that's where I'm looking at it. But I like the 10-2 for Kansas State because of the talent level that's there and the depth, something that Kansas State hasn't always had recently, Fitz.
Yep. They've got incredible depth for the first time in a long time. I mean, going back into the Bill Snyder years. Cody's got him at 11-1, brother. He sees I did one of my daily delivery videos the other day that I think the trap game, the linchpin game on the schedule is going to West Virginia because it's after Colorado and before you come home to play Kansas. And that's the game he has them losing. And I thought that was really interesting. But the schedule has most of the tough games at home. I can see the loss being Iowa State. I can see the second loss being at Iowa State. But when they go on the road, they got a couple places that are going to be a challenge. Colorado will be an unknown early in the season, still to a point. I'm going to buy with you at 10-2. I think 11-1 is a level of optimism that I embrace. But as I look at the schedule, I want to be cautious with them because, again, Avery Johnson's not just a new quarterback. He's not a big fella.
Right.
And again, you got to worry about a quarterback injury and a drop off in performance because of that. And I think that's a real concern for K-State.
I think it is. Another thing, expectations breaking in a new offensive line. Although the offensive linemen, there's a lot of them that actually have game experience.
Yes.
And that's the difference. They're not guys that you're just saying, okay, they didn't play last year. We got all new guys in there. A lot of these guys have played meaningful football games, not just mop up time either. They played real meaningful snaps, and that means something. That means a lot. So while they might now be the starter where they weren't the starter previously, they've played in meaningful, competitive snaps on the football field last season. So it's not just brand new. Things aren't going to be brand new to them. Their eyes aren't going to be, as big as the moon, out there trying to play football. That's something different. But also expectations in Manhattan are high, and I think they should be high. That's the difference from maybe previous, seasons. Because last year, and I said it, when we did our fall preview, I said Kansas State 8-4. Yeah, it was somewhat disappointing. Well, people, what are you talking about? Expectations are high. I'm like, they should be high. I go 8-4. There's 3 games on Kansas State's schedule last year that they lost that they shouldn't have lost. What's the season look like then? And that's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying.
I agree with you.
Moving on, next team. I mentioned them earlier with Iowa State as being one of the most underrated teams in the country. Oklahoma State would be that. They bring back so much from that team. Talking about bringing back offensive linemen, they bring back their entire offensive line, who just happens to block for the Doak Walker Award winner, who is also coming back, who's also has the quarterback coming back. And yet I've seen some reports out there that Oklahoma State is picked 6th in the Big 12, which I think is nuts to pick them 6th. Now, I don't think they're necessarily going to win it, but to say 6, I don't know. I got them at 9-3, Fitz. I think Oklahoma State's going to be really, really good.
Cody's got him at 10-2. Maybe he's still wearing his cowboy hat, but I understand exactly what he's doing here, and I see it. We're going to know everything we need to know about Oklahoma State 2 weeks into Big 12 play. I mean, opening with Utah and Stillwater and go to Manhattan, Kansas. That could be 0-2. That could be 2-0. And I think that'll set the standard for the rest of the season for that program. It's going to be an interesting year for Oklahoma State. I think they're going to be very good. But there's some pitfalls in the schedule.
There is. The thing about what you mentioned, we're going to know early. Before October, we're going to know everything. I shouldn't say everything, but we're going to know a lot about that football team.
Crazy.
Playing at Utah, hosting Utah, then going to Manhattan to play Kansas State before October in back-to-back weeks, no less. It's tough, but I think they have a really good football team. 9-3, I don't think that was a question. You people out there that are picking Oklahoma State to finish 6th,
give me the losses.
That's
Give
all
me the losses. I want to know who you got them losing to.
Yeah.
You know what? South Dakota State, very good team, but in Stillwater. Arkansas, not a great team, but in Stillwater. And Tulsa, dude, they're going to be 3-0 coming out of that, heading into that Utah K-State back-to-back weeks. And
correct.
Wow, they're set up right then.
Yes. I don't know. 6 is crazy. 9-3 sounds about right. Might be low, depending on how those 2 games go. So next up on the list, TCU. I'm trying to get there, Fitz, with TCU. I'm trying, but I just can't right now. I just can't. I want them to be better. The reason that I want them to be better is because I don't want everybody saying that it was a fluke that they were in the title game 2 years ago. Unfortunately, that might just be the case. Now, don't get me wrong. I shouldn't say a fluke. They had some really good football players on that team. A lot of guys are in the National Football League right now. So shouldn't say fluke. They just haven't been able to replace that type of talent yet.
Right.
But last year they slipped. I have them at 7-5. But I think that's about right. I don't see anything higher for TCU at the moment.
I'm with you. Cody's got him at 9-3. And okay, the non-conference, Stanford and Long Island. Long Island's probably better than Stanford. And SMU, which is a rivalry game.
Yeah, it is.
They're good. They're going to be good this
they
year. And if you don't know that, they'll tell you. The fans will tell you, and they'll tell you why they're the best team in the nation. And I mean, there's so many 50-50 games on the schedule. I see UCF, SMU, Texas Tech, Arizona, maybe Baylor. There's a lot of toss-up games for me looking at this schedule, and I don't see them winning as many as he does. I'm buying at 7-5. I think you're right.
Yeah. I like 7-5, 9-3. I mean, I don't know. Again, anything is possible. So not ruling it out. It's not out of the question. I don't see it. But hey, and like I said at the very beginning, I want everybody to win every game. So, I know that's not possible. So go surprise me, TCU. Prove me wrong. I'll be more than happy for that to happen. Next up, Texas Tech. I basically have the same thing. I want to be a believer in Texas Tech. I had them at 7-5. I thought real hard about 6-6, but I have them at 7-5. I want them to be better because of the slippage last year at the beginning of the season. And then what they had to go through. I mean, you go through a million quarterbacks, can't keep guys healthy. That's a problem. I just believe if they can get some consistent quarterback play, 8-4 is definitely not out of the question. But I have them at 7-5.
Well, I'm trying to find Cody's Texas Tech thing, but I'm scrolling back and forth and not finding it. Oh, here it is. He's got him at 8-4, which, I predicted Tech to be in the Big 12 title game last year. So I'm a little gun shy on Tech right now. But there's an interesting, they can win their non-conference games. So they've got that. Should be fine. But another program with a lot of games that kind of feel 50-50 in the conference. They're kind of in that fat middle of the conference. Yep. We kind of know maybe the top 4 or 5 teams in the conference and the bottom 4 or 5 teams. And then there's that group in the middle where they're going to beat the snot out of each other. He's got him at 8-4. I'll buy. I'm not going to back all the way off Tech. I think they'll struggle a little more in the conference than they want to, though.
Well, I talked to our man, Jared Johnson, who's a publisher for Tech at 24/7. And we spoke about the biggest game on the schedule, or at least a key game. And it's early in the season. It's a game at Washington State.
Yeah.
I think if they can go and win that game, I'm not saying that's going to propel them to be undefeated, but I think it's a measuring stick that they go on the road. They beat a team. I don't know how good Washington State's going to be. I don't know what their psyche is after, technically not in a conference. So I don't know any of that. I know they were decent last year. They lost their quarterback. They lost their head coach. They lost a lot, so we'll see. But I think it's a good game for Tech to go win. If they do that and they go up there and win, I just think the confidence kind of lends themselves to an 8-4 season. So I do have them at 7-5, but we'll see. 8-4 does not seem out of the question here. Next up, I've got Utah. I've got 10-2. I know Utah fans are going to come for me. I don't care. But I see them at 10-2. I think I shouldn't say this. Utah fans don't think they're just going to demolish the conference, but I think they are pretty confident of coming in and winning and competing. Well, is it 10-2 competing? Last time I checked, that's doing pretty well, but there's some places that you haven't been to that might be a little difficult for you to go to. So 10-2 sounds about right. Could it be more? It could be, but I like 10-2.
Look, they're going to win their non-conference schedule. Southern Utah, Utah State, and Baylor in the non-conference.
Right.
There's some interesting games here, but Cody's got him going 10-2 also, and I see why he's picked these games. He's got him losing at Oklahoma State. That's the first thing. Out of the gate, he's got him getting a loss on the road, which doesn't surprise me. But then at the end of the season, he's got him going to UCF and losing. So I thought that was very interesting. I'll buy on that. Yeah. I think there's just some games on there that they've circled as victories that when they get out and play them, they might be thinking a little bit differently.
Right. There's a lot of people that are pinpointing that UCF game, especially UCF fans are saying that could be a game that could be going for the Big 12 title. I don't know that it is for UCF, but I know UCF will be up and ready to play that game because, like I said, I think UCF is going to be a little bit better, number one, than I predicted and what a lot of people think. I think they're going to have a better season. That'll be a tough game for Utah. But, again, 10-2, sorry, shoot me at 10-2 for not saying that's not competing somehow in the Big 12. Lord have mercy. But it is what it is. And then lastly, Fitz, West Virginia. I think West Virginia is the absolute wild card in this conference. I've got them at 8-4. Looking at their schedule, much more difficult than last season. Also digging into it, they could be 5-7. They could be 9-3. I've got them at 8-4. I just think West Virginia. I think the confidence from last year.
Yeah.
I think that's going to hold dividends in what they do this year. Just winning some of those games, that a lot of people didn't think they could win, and maybe they didn't even think they could win them, but they did. And you know what? That does a lot for when you're dealing with confidence of. And I always call college kids. I'm going to continue to do that just because I keep getting older. So these kids get a lot of confidence, keep playing. I like them at 8-4, Fitz.
Well, look, I agree. The schedule's much more difficult than last year, but look back at last year. They're picked for last in the 14-school Big 12. They were picked for last, left for dead. Neil Brown, we were talking about what game will lead to his firing. Correct. He wasn't going to make it through the season. Well, he not only made it through the season, they had a good season, and that built a lot of confidence with the players, but also in the coach. Yeah. And I think it's going to pay off this year. Cody's got him at 8-4. I'm buying on that. I might disagree with some of the wins and losses he has, but I think that's exactly where they're going to be. And you nailed it. They are the disruptor. Well, maybe them and Iowa State in this conference this season. I think they both have good enough teams to win anywhere or lose at home too, to teams that they should beat. But I think these are going to be the teams that kind of sort out everyone else, whether you win or lose to them.
Yeah, absolutely. I like West Virginia. I like what they've got going on. First of all, West Virginia is a proud football school, very proud. So them struggling for a few years, first of all, it's not something that people that pay attention to college football are used to seeing West Virginia struggle. And their fans especially didn't like it. So to see them get back, I like that for West Virginia. Again, the disruptor. You've been saying that about them since we've been talking about this upcoming season, and I think you're right. The disruptor in the conference, and it can lead to good things. I think that confidence. I've said it before. Plus, playing in West Virginia, you know how I am, Fitz. I like hostile. And playing in West Virginia, it is hostile. And I love every bit of it. So
I don't know if they still burn couches, but if they do, there'll be a lot of home furnishings on fire this season.
Absolutely. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back to wrap this thing up. This is the Big 12 Insiders.
Welcome back to the show. Let's head back to the studio.
All right, everybody. Welcome back to Big 12 Insiders. We broke down the records of all Big 12 teams this season. Fitz, before we shut down the show and close this thing out, any surprises out there that I came up with or that Cody came up with that were a lot different than maybe what you thought?
No, you guys are right in the neighborhood. Maybe, the most difference would be 2 games on, some teams, but no, I think the only thing I'm confident about, we're all going to be wrong.
Oh,
yeah. I mean, there's going to be someone that we picked, like West Virginia last year, to win less than a handful of games, and all of a sudden they're beating people they shouldn't be beating, and they're causing chaos in the standings. I also believe Iowa State's going to be really good. I mean, I truly believe between Kansas, Iowa State, K-State, and Utah, we've got the 2 championship game teams. Again, the only thing I'm confident about with that pick is I'm wrong, that someone will get into that mix. But Iowa State is going to be a disruptor. Kansas State and Utah, there's no reason that they don't meet in Arlington other than health issues or just stunningly bad performances. But there are some really good teams in this conference. And I just want to point out that there are some non-conference games here that are very important for the psyche and the appearance, maybe the marketing of the conference, but you can flip it around. Believe me, Washington State, having a Big 12 team come to their stadium this season, they got a point to prove. Yeah. So this is going to be a fun season. I wish we had a Big 12 game this weekend. I don't think we do. So I could just sit there and watch it, because as someone who covers a team, you kind of miss out on watching as many games as a fan. It's weird. Big guys like you that don't actually go to the games in person have such an advantage over the media that actually goes to games, because as soon as a game's over, you can flip over to the Kansas State game, and then you could flip over to, as soon as that game's over, you can flip over to something else. You absorb a lot more information. I've long said that media people who don't actually attend games would be the best people to use in a poll, because they see more football live than what we see.
Right.
Got to play the games. Let's get going, man. Let's get going.
Yeah, I can't wait. It is going to be, I mean, look, it's college football, man. It's just college football, and I love it. The season is here. It's starting, like I said, it starts this weekend. Not for Big 12 teams, but college football is back. Next weekend will be great. Look, just as a reminder to everybody, Big 12 Insiders is going back to 5 days a week. We've got a list of stuff that we are starting putting out next week. We will be going back to 5 days, Monday through Friday, getting all the scoops and everything out to you. You're really going to like what we're doing with ESPN, or I shouldn't say ESPN, with Big 12 Game Day, putting together a panel of people just talking Big 12 football. That's going to be really fun. So I'm real excited about that. So again, here's where we are. When we started this, what did we start this in? February, Fitz?
Yeah, post-football.
Yep. Yeah, in the middle of February, we started this thing, and we have grown tremendously. First of all, I want to thank you, Fitz, for giving me the opportunity to host this and put this together, and you're hosting it with me a lot of times, so thank you for doing that. This has been fun, but you know what? This is what we geared up for. We started this thing in kind of a weird time. This is what we geared up for football season, and I cannot wait.
Let's get a little deep on that. When we decided to start in February, part of me was like, let's just wait till August.
Right.
But boy, I'm glad we did. We worked out kinks in our product, kinks in how we're doing things. Honestly, kinks with YouTube and how they react to things that we didn't understand. And we've got ourselves some pretty firm footing. Will this channel grow? It better. I think this is, we're not throwing out wild ideas and weird speculation just to get some clicks. We want to talk about Big 12 conference athletics, Big 12 football in a substantive way. And I'm really excited for your Big 12 game day, because you're going to have a group of publishers that rotate through. Maybe you'll have a main core of 4 guys, but 5 people talking about Big 12 football every Thursday. That'll come out on Thursdays. Is going to be epic, and it'll go in depth in a way nobody else does covering this conference. We have to be self-contained and do our own media, and I'm glad we're doing this.
Absolutely. I love it. It's going to be fun. It's going to be a good ride. Look, everything gets kicked off next week. Again, as always, people, thank you so much for your support, but continue to like, follow, subscribe. More importantly, leave those comments. We love the back and forth. Hit the notification bell so you know. Like I said, we're going to 5 days a week next week. So hit the notification bell so you know exactly when our content is coming out. But until then, we will see you guys next week. Football is back, people. It is back. This is the Big 12 Insiders.
This has been a GoPowercat.com and Spirit Street production. Please support this show by subscribing to this YouTube channel or follow us on your favorite podcast platform.